Coach Wyde. Hello. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hello. I can hear you. Can you hear me now? Awesome. I don't even know what we're talking about today. I'm still on vacation mode, to tell you the truth. So yeah, let me just scroll back. What are we talking about? We're talking about getting over your ex and understanding it is okay to evolve. All right, I always like to change around whatever they put as a question there. That's just my thing. But getting over your ex is a big thing for people. I literally have a friend, I'm not going to call any names, but I avoid talking to them on the phone because they're constantly talking about their breakup that they're dealing with right now. And they're really, really, really sweet. Like they're really, 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 they're a sweet person. But they're in the middle of this divorce, and it's like when we have conversations, I don't think they realize how much that they're causing their own heartbreak. And I find that with a lot of people who aren't fully ready to let go. No matter how much their mouth says it's over, they really mentally are not letting it be over. Can you talk to those people for me?
It's a tough process, Nikki, that they have to go through, and this part of the process is a part of the process. This is the heartache part of the process that they have to go through, and we look for quick fixes. We look for ways to get by it. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that we have to work through, and we have to get by. What we have to try and do or get to the point of is taking ourselves away from, or take the person away from us, and start looking at the situation at hand and what happened. Where did it go wrong? Not, how did this person do that, or why they did this, or how
not
could they have
looking to
done
do a
that.
blame game thing. No.
It really is just, okay. And I say this all the time. Why did my relationship end? And get that answer without mentioning the other person.
Yes.
Get that answer without talking about he, him, she. Why did my relationship end? And so when you can get the other person out of the factor and then just really talk about it, you start getting to the meat and potatoes of why it ended. I compromised myself. I compromised my integrity. I started moving into a place that I've never been before. I allowed myself to do this, or I allowed this to happen. And you start talking through how it ended without mentioning that person. And you start seeing there are things that within you that you may need to change, or within you that you accepted and allowed that you normally wouldn't have.
Exactly.
And so you start that self-healing part and that self-discovery part.
Yeah, you can't say that somebody's your ex or you're divorcing someone, but you're still flirting or having flirty conversations, or even if you have kids, you're not instantly in the middle of your divorce while you're still bickering, going on family trips together. It's just not a thing. You know what I mean? I feel like those things are harmful. You're going to have to find ways. And even when you bring in kids, I know the ex thing gets way more complicated. But how do those people now try to figure out how to separate with still letting the kids be okay?
It's unfortunately a thing. It's not a good thing, but it is a thing where people do continue to go on family vacations together. They tend to do dinner nights and they do this. And while at the same time telling the family
during
that
the middle of the divorce?
During the middle of the divorce, during the middle of everything.
After I get it, but while you are still in the height of emotion?
Well, one of the misconceptions and why people do it is because they believe it's best for the kids.
Yeah.
They believe it's best to keep a sense of normal while you're going through this. So let's not disrupt what they've known. Let's not disrupt the vacation that we've planned, or if we always go here or we always go there. We want to maintain for the kids. The challenge and the unfortunate thing with it is that it actually causes more confusion on the kids, because why is daddy not living here no more? Why
That's
is mommy
my
not
point.
living here
It's
no
more
more?
confusing.
Why are you? Exactly. And at the end of the day, it doesn't make it better. It makes it worse. It makes it harder for you also to heal. It makes it harder for you to come to terms with what's happening and the fact that the relationship has eroded to the point that it is.
Yeah.
So if you try to live in a world that no longer exists, it makes it hard for you to then get to reality.
And it confuses your
because you're
kids.
living in fantasy.
It confuses your
Confuses
kids.
the kids, confuses the family, confuses the friends, because they don't know where they stand. They don't know what to say,
And even
they don't know how
bigger
to
than that,
support.
hold on, even bigger than that, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just somebody who likes to observe. Okay, am I saying that word right? Observe people. Yes, it just sounds weird. Observe. Yes, I like to observe people. But I think with the kids in particular, when they see parents going through that, I think parents think their kids are dumber than their kids really are. Kids know and kids see. So kids know when you're being snotty to each other, even if you're doing it under the little smart little sarcasm. Kids pick up on it. So I mean, is it just my thinking in this, my own brain, in thinking that you as parents should let your kids understand and be honest? Tell them what's going on. And keep y'all bickering away from the kids, but just let the kids know we love you, but together we're not working.
There's intuition that children have, and as parents, we discount what our kids know and what they feel and what they're going through. But kids have intuition as well, and they can sense when something's wrong. Now, Nikki, you've probably been through this. I know I have been through this. When I'm in a relationship with someone living together, something's not right. We're having some challenge within our relationship. There's a heavy air throughout the house. Like the everything is just so thick,
tense,
and you can feel that thickness and that tenseness that's going on between. And what makes you think the kids don't feel it? What makes you think the kids don't notice that mommy and daddy are not interacting in the way that they used to, or that they're making snide remarks at each other, especially when the kids get older and older. So we live in a world where we say kids should be, seen and not heard, and we don't need to get them involved. And it's not that world anymore. We know that some of the things we went through weren't right. So let's not, give the sins of our father onto our children. Let's treat them differently. Let's make sure that they're involved. Let them know that there are some challenges that we're going through right now. There's some things that we're working through and whatever. You don't need to get into the details that daddy went and did this or mommy went and did this.
Daddy went and got himself another woman.
It doesn't have to be daddy.
Please stop doing that. Like, I hate when I see women or men do it. Like, do not call your baby father your dirty father. Hi, dirty. Hi, dirty. Hi, don't do that to children. Do not do that. Like, you gotta be somewhere warped in your head to think that that's okay to say to kids. It's not okay.
It's not. You're not doing that to their father. You're doing that to their daddy. And that's their daddy that you're doing that to. It's not their father, because there's sometimes two different things. You're doing this to their daddy. And what I mean by saying you're doing it to their daddy is you're doing that to the emotion that's associated with daddy.
Absolutely.
You're doing that with everything that comes with someone being a daddy. So when you do that to their father, you do that to them. You discourage them, you discount them, you put them down, you diminish their entire relationship with them, and you put them in a position where they should not be in.
And you make them think this is a norm.
Well, we're getting to that. We haven't even gotten to the expectations that you set. And what, you're so right, Nikki, that when you do stuff like that, you not only teach that child that, you teach the daughters that this is how they should be treated by their future partners. And you treat the sons that this is how they should treat their future partners. And right. And you also treat sons when a mother, disrespects the father and berates him and puts him down. You've now told that son that that's okay for him to accept when he grows up.
Basically,
when you tell the child that your mother is a this and her, you now told her that that's okay for someone to say about her too. Because if you're saying that about my mommy, then it must be okay to say about me too, right? Is that what you think about me?
Yeah, people think it's a norm. People think it's a norm. It's not normal and it's not okay. And these are some of those generational curses we need to break.
The voices, here's the thing that people have to understand. The voice that your children hears out loud is the voice that they grew up to hear inside their head.
All right.
And you need to let that sink in. Whatever voice your children hear out loud is the voice that they grow up to hear in their head. And you know how you can prove this? And I can prove this to all of you. How many times have you heard your mother in the back of your head saying something? How many times have you heard your father in the back of your head saying something?
You are 100%
and you're thinking,
correct.
my mom always used to say that. You're like, damn it, she's in my head.
If you have a parent that's constantly berating things you do, like, I mean, I love my mom, rest in peace, but she had this habit of always, whenever I bought a gift, she would say something like, for the same money, you could have buy me this.
Could I do this? Or could I
exactly. And I constantly hear that. So it's like, nothing's good enough. Nothing's good enough. Nothing's good enough.
Exactly.
And I literally grew up telling myself nothing's good enough, nothing's good enough. In a way, it helped me because I always wanted to do better and be better. But in a way, it was very crippling to never just be okay with what you do. It's anxiety flare on a whole nother level.
It's true. And that is a perfect example of your parents living in your head, even though they may no longer be living. Like my mother passed away last year, and I hear her in the back of my head all the time. And she had all these sayings, this, that, and the other. And sometimes I catch myself saying it to the kids. I'm like, Right? So it's one of those perfect examples that the voice that my mom said out loud now lives inside my head.
Yeah.
So all the things that you say around your children, whether you think they're listening or not, they're hearing or not, whether you're saying it about the person down the road or the neighbor, or you're saying it about their father, or you're saying it about their grandmother or whatever, that sticks in their head and it lives with them. And now Nikki's an example of something that was done a long time ago. We're not saying very, very long, but years ago.
And while we're on the subject, parents out there, please don't be calling y'all church friends and work friends and talking about your kids like your kids can't hear you talking about them. That is like so disrespectful, demeaning, and traumatizing to constantly hear. It's horrible to do that.
They know though, Nikki. A lot of parents know that the kids are listening. This is their way of speaking to the children without speaking to the children.
It's horrible to
do. It's bad. It's really bad. And it's because the child doesn't know if you know that they're hearing. So they think that you really think this about me then.
Exactly.
And this is what you say about me when I'm not around is what you really think about me.
And what all your friends think about me. So now if I'm around your friends, I think they're judging me as this person that I know I'm not, but now you've made everyone think I am.
And they probably are. Because this is all they know of you.
They usually are.
If your mom thinks this about you, then I must think this about you.
I must be a bad kid.
So it's as parents, we have to do better. We have to remember, we are raising the future generation. Absolutely. And we're raising our children. And whatever we say, parental individuation is a hard thing. Yeah. And what I mean by that is being able to disassociate yourself from what you learned from your parents is very, very hard. It's hard for you to pretend as though whatever I did or whatever I learned through my upbringing, I'm going to just forget it because now I'm an adult and I'm moving on. No. What you do sticks with your children. Absolutely. Forever. Even after you're gone, it stays with them.
I don't know how we got here. We were supposed to be talking about
I don't even know either,
exes.
Right?
But I like this conversation better. But we were talking about exes and we only got 3 minutes to go. And we talked about the people who are getting divorced with the exes. But there's also this whole element of people out there who might have been with one person for an extensive period of time and things go awry. A lot of times those people tend to think like if this relationship ends, they know nothing else. And there really does become this onset of depression and not knowing where to go next because you literally feel like everything you know as familiar is now unfamiliar. How do you go forward when you've lived in that type of a situation?
Yeah, it's hard. It really is hard. Yeah. You've lived in, this is all you've ever known, and this is what you've gone through for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And so now that the relationship
5 years
is
for some.
Or even 5 years, Now that it's ended, you start to wonder, how do you move on? And one of the things you have to remember is that this was a chapter and a moment in your life, and it really isn't the definitive of your entire life. Yeah. We have to realize that this moment in this chapter, as much as it was long, it was meaningful, it was impactful. This is hard for me to say, but you have to know that it's true. Mm-hmm. Whatever you went through was setting you up for the next chapter in your life. And that's the hard part to get through and to get over, because it doesn't feel like it right now. Yeah. Just know that it's true. Everything that you went through, all the bad relationships I went through were setting me up for this relationship that I'm in right now. It just didn't feel like it at the time. It felt horrible. Yeah. It felt like everything was over. We just have to take all these lessons and learn from them. They're all learning experiences. Mm-hmm. They're all things that we had to go through. And we didn't want to, but we had to, because it wouldn't have allowed you to be the person you are now or the person you're going to be had you not gone through that. Absolutely. So you can either take it and rise to that challenge and say, okay, what am I learning from this lesson? Mm-hmm. What am I taking from this experience? Or you can let it become you and overwhelm you, and now you become the experience. Exactly. You either learn from the experience or you become the experience.
And believe those are the only two options. If you become the experience, there's a stench that emanates off of you. And every person with predatory type of thinking knows that stench, and they will beeline to you.
Oh,
and you will
absolutely.
You will get the worst people coming in your space. Yeah. So that depression stench, it really does. I don't care how many times you bathe. I don't care how many times you fake smile. That depression stench, that insecurity stench, it emanates off of you.
You're so right. There are people who purposely go and looking for those who are vulnerable.
Oh, yes.
Because they within themselves are vulnerable. And they're not complete. So they're looking for another version of themselves that's worse than they are.
Yes.
Because if I get with someone who's
makes me feel better.
It makes me feel better. Exactly.
And I'm going to make sure they know that they're worse than me too, because that makes me feel better.
I'm going to remind you all the time.
Yeah, all the time. You can't get better than me.
If you ever discover that you're better than me, then you're gonna leave. I can't allow you to figure out that you're better than me. No. So, and you know what the sad thing about that, Nikki, is we're talking about relationships. That happens within families too.
Yeah.
That happens between parents and it happens within siblings. It happens at work, where there are people who will constantly tell you that you're less than because, you know,
they
it's
don't
a saying that
you do more than what they did.
They want to stand on your shoulders to keep their head above water.
Amen.
But your head is underwater the entire time.
Absolutely.
Right.
Don't
so
do that.
We have to be mindful of that. When you're going through this process of a breakup, let it happen.
Yes.
Don't look for shortcuts. Don't go dating to try and get over the person.
No, that doesn't
Don't
work.
put yourself out there when you're not ready.
That's the worst thing.
Yeah.
Don't let people tell. Yeah, don't let people tell you that. I will joke around and say stuff like that, but I don't really mean it. You're not gonna get over a man by getting a new man that fast. That's not a thing. And if anything, if it doesn't work out with the new man, you're just gonna end up feeling even worse than you did after the first.
It's another mistake that you've made now.
Lord,
it's another mistake you've made now. So
I done did that a few times.
Don't try to get over a situation. Try
by
to
getting
get
under
through
someone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry.
Well, that's what you're talking about. Something different now. It's true. You try to get over by getting under.
It's all good. Yeah. It's all good. Sometimes your mind is right. It do help. I'm just saying, but that's another day. That's another day.
A distraction sometimes, as long as your mind is right, though.
That's what I said. Your mind gotta be right. I'm all for a good distraction, but I gotta go, Coach Wade.
You're gonna get me in trouble. You keep trying to get me in trouble every time.
It's the Bridge 99. It's Coach Wade. You can follow him at
Take 2 Steps Forward on Instagram or take2stepsforward.com online. That's the best way to find it.
Make it happen. And keep it locked right here. We got a half an hour to go inside the crossover on the Bridge 99.